Hello, everyone. Good evening and good morning to you all. um, I hope you have digest what I have said last 2 days and can gain some wisdom from the talk. Okay, so today I will continue the teaching on the consciousness only schools. The doctrine. Okay, let me share with you my screen. Can you see my slides? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. Good.
very clear.
Okay, thank you. So yesterday we covered some details that may be a bit confusing, but what I hope you can catch from the material are the following key points. So the first is the foundational texts of the Yogacara system acknowledges that there are people who have the 5 superior qualities. The people have a strong spiritual foundation and can understand the teachings on emptiness properly. But those who do not have all 5 qualities may find it hard to understand the teaching on emptiness. Therefore, the Yogacara system uses an alternative method to explain the transcendental teachings. So this kind of explanation is called explicit teaching. Okay. How they do this is to group all phenomena into 3 types. These are delusional phenomena of erroneous attachment. The second type is phenomena dependent on causes and conditions. The third is state of accomplishment of perfection. Although these titles are long, remember they are referring to a type of phenomena. Just keep in mind these 3 titles and get used to hearing them. We will go through them in more detail today and tomorrow. We finished at this table yesterday, which summarizes the key differences between the Madhyamaka and Yogacara systems when it comes to use the term 了义 in Chinese and 不了义. What you need to keep in mind is that different sutras have different definitions that they are using. If we get this clear, then it will be easier to learn each system of teaching properly. What was covered in day 1 and day 2 is background and important information to help us begin looking at Yogacara teachings in a bit more detail today. So you will see more difficult doctrine about consciousness only teaching. Okay. So today we will begin with this verse. It's just half a verse. So here we have the verse which is the in-depth look at the consciousness only school's doctrine about intrinsic nature. Generally, so the verse says, all dharmas either exist without intrinsic nature or exist with intrinsic nature. So what does this mean? The Yogacara practice that Asanga transmitted is based on the Sandhi Nimochana Sutra's definition of explicit and implicit teachings. In addition, the teachings about the truth are expounded from the aspect of those whose spiritual foundations are not complete with all five superior characteristics. What this means is that Asanga's teachings view statements such as all dharmas are without intrinsic nature, or all dharmas are dependent designation, to imply that there is nothing at all. Such teachings are implicit and cannot explain how all dharmas are established. In other words, the Yogacara practitioners believe that such teachings are not easy for most people to correctly understand and can even lead to misunderstanding. Bear in mind, when the Prajnaparamita teachings say all dharmas are without an intrinsic nature, they mean that all dharma can exist based on causes and conditions. But the point is, there is no real entity behind all phenomena. In contrast, Asanga's teachings presents two kinds of intrinsic nature, where one is unreal and the other is real. And based on the true type of intrinsic nature, the unreal type is established. Okay, the consciousness only school of things. This is an easier and clear way of explaining how things can be established. So we have two kind of things. One is real, so-called real, and the other is unreal. So the unreal things are based on real things. I will give you an example later. So they are two types of things. Okay, one is real, the other is unreal. In the Yogacara Bhumi, we find the following passage. For example, the dependent designation called a person is possible only when the five aggregates are present. When the five aggregates are not present, then the designation of a person cannot manifest. Likewise, that which is established dependent on certain elements is only existent when those causal elements are present. When the causal elements are missing, the things that are established dependent on these causal elements cannot be said to exist. Therefore, when the causal elements are missing, the things that are established dependent on these causal elements cannot be said to exist. Otherwise, if they are only dependent constructs, for example, a person, and no causal elements such as aggregates, then there is no basis of reliance for the dependent constructs. And as a result, dependent constructs cannot be established. This is what is called destroying all Dharma. Okay. So the elements such as aggregates means they have stable characteristics. It is in this essence, in this sense, they are said to be real. So real means stable characteristics. Hence, the argument is that some dharmas are real, like the causal elements here, and some are not dependent. They are dependent designation. Okay. Here is where consciousness only gets complicated, I think. I hope you can catch the point from the text, the slides. Okay. When it talks about real source of reliance, such as the aggregates being real, its definition of real is not like the Madhyamaka school's definition of a fixed and changing and permanent essence like a soul. Here, the definition of real is related to the concept of the seed in the alaya consciousness, which still arises and ceases. So it is impermanent, but because the seed maintains the same characteristics, and so will always produce the same Dharma. Therefore, from this aspect, it is real. I'm not sure, are you confused yet? I hope not. Okay. So their way of explaining things is that there must be something that are real, that maintain the same characteristic. It is based on these real dharmas that all other dharmas that are dependent designation can be created. For example, there are real aggregate seeds, but no real Pudgala. Pudgala means person. Pudgala seed in alaya consciousness. So we have different seeds correspond to form, sensation, perception, etc. And when they, so the C means a potential status of a manifested things. So when this C become manifested, so there is another force to arrange the the five aggregates, so everyone looks different. Okay, so the C correspond to five aggregates, but we don't have a C to manifest as a person, a whole person, because a person consists of five aggregates. Okay, so the real seeds of the aggregates have a fixed characteristic, while the Pudgala, the person or human, is not fixed, because each of us is different in different times. That is, a person's composition and arrangement is not exactly the same. In this sense, a person is not real without an intrinsic nature, while the aggregates are real with an intrinsic nature. So are you starting to see the different approach to how the Madhyamaka and consciousness only teachings define things and explain the existence of Dharma? I hope so. In the consciousness only teachings, both real and unreal dharmas are impermanent. It is just that real dharma will maintain their characteristics, while unreal dharmas do not. In the Sandhi Nimochana Sutra, this point of argument is categorized into two types of worldly dharmas. So the sutra says, what is the delusional phenomena of erroneous attachment found in all dharma? This is the notionally established different identities for each dharma in order to subsequently communicate in a conventional way with others. What is the phenomena dependent on causes and conditions found in all dharmas? This is the dependent co-arising nature of each dharma. Here, I would like you all to take note of the concept of delusional phenomena of erroneous attachment. This is the normal mode in which we operate on a daily basis. When we see things, our habit is to attach to external objects as being independent of the mind, independent of our consciousness, and we mistake that the object is real and existent. The Madhyamaka also say that the way beings recognize external objects is to innately assume the object is a real thing that exists with fixed entity. Both schools try to correct this erroneous attachment by highlighting that external objects are without an intrinsic nature. Madhyamaka school directly says these objects are empty, while consciousness only school says that they are all manifestation of the mind. So both schools regard the objects are unreal, okay? The Sandi Nimochana Sutra further says that delusional phenomena of erroneous attachment. That the text, the sutra says the delusional phenomena of erroneous attachments are notionally established, and this is their characteristic. They do not come to be because of an intrinsic identity. Therefore, delusional phenomena of erroneous attachment are said to have no nature of intrinsic identity. Here, intrinsic identity is referring to seeds that maintain the same characteristics in the alaya consciousness. Maybe the following example might help to understand what I just said. I'm sure you have heard about the situation of mistaking a string for a snake when in a dark room. Delusional phenomena of erroneous attachment is the thought that there is a snake when really it is a string. Okay, due to poor lighting, our bad eyesight, etc., we see the string in a dark room and think there is a snake. So we attach to the idea there's a snake in the room. Other people seeing the string might think of something else, perhaps a giant worm or whatever. But whatever we think it is delusional and incorrect because the underlying thing is a piece of string. In this example, the string is real in the sense that the seed in the consciousness is projecting a piece of a string. But the snake and other perceptions are false because no such seed exists in this situation. So I hope you can gain some wisdom or clarification from that example. So as for phenomena dependent on causes and conditions, the Sandi Nimochana Sutra says, these Dharma. So these dharmas arise through the force of other conditions and not by themselves. Therefore, in terms of production, this type of dharmas are said to have no intrinsic identity. So here we move to the second type of dharmas, which are regarded as real in the consciousness-only school. However, when they need to explain how these real dharma have no intrinsic identity, they employ the reason that such a real dharma arise through other conditions. In terms of production, the phenomena-dependent causes and conditions can be said to have no intrinsic identity. Okay? Therefore, the fundamental tenet of the system of mere consciousness that are illusional is that there is the false existence of no intrinsic nature, which is called the delusional phenomena of erroneous attachment. And there are real dharmas that have intrinsic nature, and these are called phenomena dependent on causes and conditions. Dharmas arising from causes and conditions are said to have an intrinsic nature. That is, when the right causes and conditions come together, then that Dharma will arise. This intrinsic nature is also referred to as the nature of the 18 elements in Agama Sutra or Abhidharma. Elements has the meaning of a stable and fixed characteristic that cannot be lost. Just like a melon seed, regardless of whether we perceive the melon or not, when the seed grows and matures, it will give rise to a melon, not a tomato, right? This is the stable characteristic, the intrinsic nature that does exist. Without such intrinsic nature, where seeds will always give rise to their corresponding object, then things will be all messed up in the sense that you plant a melon seed but end up with a lemon. It's disaster, isn't it? This is the Yogacara position on intrinsic nature and how things with cause and effect, with cause and effect, things can be established in an orderly way. Okay. So please do note, this is not referring to attachment to a truly existent intrinsic self or intrinsic entity. Rather, it means that when such Dharma arise from causes and conditions, they naturally have that stable intrinsic characteristic. Can you see how this position or definition of intrinsic nature differs from the Madhyamaka view, where existent Dharma are said to be mere dependent constructs and have no real fixed, permanent, intrinsic entity? Can you see this difference? So both Madhyamaka and consciousness only schools say that things arise and cease. Things are impermanent, while Madhyamaka proposes that whatever is impermanent, that is empty of intrinsic nature. The consciousness only school adds a layer of stable characteristics to explain how things can arise and cease, but due to the stable reproduction of the same characteristic. This is what they mean when they say something is real. So it is important to make clear that the two systems have different definitions of emptiness and intrinsic nature. As for the situation where beings attached to manifested notional dharmas as real and permanent, both systems agree that such notional dharmas of delusional attachment have no intrinsic nature. According to the teachings of the Buddha, there really is no need for such debates among the different systems. For those who are equipped with all five superior characteristics, when they learn about the doctrine that all Dharma are empty without intrinsic nature, or hear that all dharmas are mere dependent designation, they can properly understand that emptiness does not abstract dependent existence. For these practitioners with superior spiritual roots, they can comprehend how, with reliance on emptiness, all things can manifest, and so all dharmas can be established. This means such practitioners understand and have conviction in the doctrine on emptiness and can properly practice and penetrate this doctrine. In contrast, those practitioners who are not fully equipped with all five superior characteristics will interpret the doctrine that all dharmas are empty to mean that there is nothing at all. Emptiness equates to nothingness, and naturally such an emptiness cannot be used as the basis to establish all dharmas. For these practitioners with weaker spiritual roots, it is unavoidable that they will develop misunderstanding concerning emptiness. In this situation, the employment of simple and explicit alternative teachings that say there are some real dharmas that have intrinsic nature will be of benefit to these practitioners and help them to develop faith in and understanding of the doctrine that all dharmas are empty, and they can gradually embark on the Buddha's path. However, the later generations of Yogacara practitioners have lost sight of this meaning behind the Buddha's teachings. They were unaware that Maitreya and Asanga's teachings cater to those whose spiritual foundations were not fully equipped with all five superior characteristics. Consequently, these later Yogacara practitioners thought that regardless of spiritual foundations, all practitioners must rely on Sandhi Nimochana Sutra's explicit teachings. In this way, problems and disputes began to arise. A good simile is to think of different methods and systems as medicine. I think this is a good simile for you, so we can understand or appreciate different teaching or in different systems. Okay. So, different meditations are used for different people with certain illness, isn't it? You take yours and they take theirs. A medicine or vitamin may be good for you and your current health status, but if you then give a hard sell to your friends and pressure them into taking your medicine or vitamin, they might end up with a bad reaction given their current health status. So, clear? Losing sight of this point that different people need different medicine. Venerable Yin-Shun summarizes that the later Yogacara practitioners have the following position. First, they think that the Prajaparamita Sutra's teaching all dharmas are empty is the doctrine that the Buddha naturally fully understands, but was expounded in an abstruse manner, and so is easily misunderstood. Therefore, it is a must for all to rely on the Sandhi Nimochana Sutra's view. Sandhi Nimochana's new explanation on the doctrine of emptiness. Second, although these later Yogacara practitioners dare not criticize Nagarjuna, their explanation claims Nagarjuna's teaching have the same meaning as Sandhi Nimochana Sutra's teaching. Consequently, they staunchly oppose the Madhyamaka practitioners' ultimate teaching that all dharmas are empty of intrinsic nature and are merely dependent designation. Some of these later Yogacara practitioners go as far as to claim that so something happened. Dependent designation. Okay. So some of these later Yogacara practitioners go as far as to claim that one should not converse or recite with Madhyamaka practitioners, and even initiated internal conflicts among the various Buddhist schools of thought. This is referring to the historical situation of internal conflict and adversity between the Yogacara and the Madhyamaka practitioners. So if these later Yogacara practitioners could remain mindful of the different spiritual foundations of practitioners, or if they could recall that there are some people whose spiritual foundations are outstanding and equipped with all five superior characteristics, while others are not so complete in all five characteristics, then perhaps different practitioners can follow and promote the teaching that best suit their spiritual foundations, and there will be no need for internal conflicts. I think it is a good place to stop. So we will have a 10 minutes break. Okay. I will see you in 10 minutes. Okay, let's back to the talk. Okay, so last class I explained different term and different definition in Madhyamaka school and the Yogacara school. So actually, both schools use the same term, but has different meaning attached to these terms. Okay, so we need to be aware of these differences. Otherwise, we will get confused, and even worse, we will criticize the other doctrines or teachings. That's what I don't want to see. This is the situation we don't want to see. Okay, so each teachings just like a medicine. Okay, so different people need different medicine to improve their health, and even in different time, different condition, the same person even can take different medicine. Can you see my point? So that's mean at the beginning we learn sort of agama teachings, and when they become more mature, we start to learn Prajaparamita teaching, or even consciousness only teaching, etc. Yeah, it depends, and what kind of method or practice we prefer, okay, or suit us the best. And even we can change different practices, the method of practice, when we become more advanced. Okay, so so we should all learn from this historical fact and avoid the same mistakes of the later Yogacara practitioners. So why Venerable Yin-Shun point out the situation caused by Yogacara practitioners? Because it's a later school. So the later school criticize earlier school. so that's the, although the two schools have debate, but well, the Yogacara practitioners criticize Madhyamaka school probably more. Okay, so it is important to be open and respectful to the various methods of practices. and bear in mind that they cater to different people of different spiritual capacities. We must not assume our method is the best and only way of practice. Even today, there are some Buddhist groups who criticize other groups for this or that. And of course, there is still the long-standing argument by some Theravada practitioners that they are the true and the only Buddhism. From this chapter in Buddhism's history, we need to remind ourselves of the practice of tolerance and equality. Just because other practitioners may have weaker foundation than us, we must not treat them as inferior or vice versa, feel embarrassed because we think we are not as good as others. Both are not a good case or situation. So everything has its causes and conditions. Our present situation will change as conditions change. We can advance or regress depending on our choices. Therefore, we should focus on planting the right causes and then allow the flow of causes and conditions to take its place. In terms of our own practice, we should be clear about what our spiritual foundation is, and therefore what practices are most effective to us in our present state. So before I move on to the next verse, I would like to spend some time to explain the terminology by Venerable Yin-Shun, okay? In this column, I think, okay. So because I think some of you may have confusion about this terminology, so I think it's good to explain this terminology in more details. So the first school, which is Madhyamaka school or middle way school, the doctrine Venerable Yin-Shun described, he used mere dependent designations that are empty in nature. So in this school, they regard all existent things as just dependent arrangement. I'm not so sure whether this term is clearer for you. So dependent designation is the synonym of dependent co-arising, okay? Because designation is a translation of a Sanskrit term, prajnapti. So prajnapti means make known. So something have its marks or symbol or name so that we can know that things or the thing can be known, okay? So mere dependent designation means everything just consists of different causes and conditions. So please don't regard the term designation as a literal meaning, name or title, something like that. So dependent designation is the terminology used in Prajnaparamita teaching. But in the Madhyamaka school's doctrine, treatise, they tend to use dependent co-arising, which is the same as the same meaning as what the Agama text teaches. So mere dependent designation means all existent things are mere dependent co-arising. Or so this is what the term mere dependent designation means. And such a thing, dependent co-arising or dependent designation, are empty in nature. What this means is all the existent things occur depending on causes and conditions. So when the causes and conditions change, the existent thing change and even cease. Okay, so in this situation, we don't have anything which is fixed entity. So everything changes all the time. So nothing fixed or permanent. So empty in nature or empty in intrinsic nature means nothing is fixed or permanent. Okay, so this is the definition of emptiness. Emptiness means things are impermanent and are dependent. Everything is impermanent and is dependent co-arising. Okay. So the second school here, mere consciousness that is illusional. It means all existent things are the manifestation of our consciousness, and our consciousness possess innumerable seeds. We call seeds. The seed of consciousness. Okay, so the seed is the potential state, and when the seed get the right causes and get the right conditions, the seed potential status become manifested status. So what we have seen, all existent things are the result of our potential seed, consciousness seed. Okay. So in our consciousness, we have innumerable seeds and different kind of seeds. One kind of seed represent has the function of element, and there is another seed that has a function to arrange how this element become a compound. Okay, so we have element, and we also have the force to make element to have different arrangement. So that we look different. Okay. So okay. So this is the meaning of mere consciousness, not illusional. And these consciousness states are not pure. These states has the quality which is illusional. That's why when they appear or manifest, a lot of erroneous situation or perception happen. So so how can we purify these seeds or purify or correct our perception? The way by Yogacara school or consciousness only school is to listen to the Dharma talk so that we change the way we perceive this world, because we think everything we come across, we face are real. So attachment occur, right? So because we see everything is real, so we have attachment to these real things. Once we think, oh, this existent thing just a manifestation of our consciousness seed, and it change all the time, then we realize nothing can be attached. You know what I mean? Okay. So so in the Madhyamaka school, they teach us everything exists depending on cause and conditions. So when the conditions changed, things change. So nothing fixed, permanent. So when we see something we like, and next moment it changes, it may become another thing we dislike, or another situation we dislike. So nothing can be attached, okay, or grasped. And from the perspective of Yogacara teaching, they also teach us we should not have attachment to the external object, because they are not real. These things are just the projection of our consciousness seed. So, and also the situation, the cause, the conditions change all the time. So the projection, the projection also changes all the time. Okay, so both school teach us that what we perceive is just illusion, like a dream. Okay, so when we see something terrible in our dream, we have fear, right? But when we wake up, the fear disappears. The practice of Dharma is just like this. So we are in dream actually. So we have deep, complicated emotions when we see, we come across different situations. Okay, so I hope my explanation just now can make things clear for you. So today, I think I will stop the talk here and leave some more time for you to ask questions. I think you may have a lot of doubt or question about the definition of the terminology I mentioned in last 2 days or even today. So, so if you have any question, please feel free to ask. But before I receive your question, I want to clarify uh, 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 my answer yesterday. So I think Nico asked how to experience emptiness. I think what I meant is to contemplate the existing things and see all existent things arise depending on causes and conditions. And in this way, we can weaken our attachment. And at the end, when the attachment is totally destroyed, we can see the truth because we remove the covering, the attachment, the defilement. We remove the defilement, and we have no abstraction, and we can see the truth clearly. And at the moment, we can experience the emptiness, which is beyond duality. You know what I mean? I'm not so sure. So only use insight meditation can truly experience emptiness. And if we just practice tranquility meditation, we have something similar, but not real realization of emptiness. It's just something similar, not real realization of emptiness, but what we feel quite similar. So we feel calm and we feel bright in before us or in our body and mind, something like that, and full of energy and full of joy, something like that. But also tranquility meditation can have this experience. This is just similar thing to the real realization of emptiness. Okay, so any question, please? So is that clear, Nicole? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Closer.
Yeah, good. Any further question about practice?
I have a question if someone else doesn't have one.
Okay.
I don't want to dominate the
Okay, let others ask first.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you. So the Yogacara or the consciousness only practice is a bit difficult for us to experience because it's not happening in our daily life, I think. But according to Sandhi Nimochana Sutra, what kind of practitioner can really understand the teaching? Those who have meditation experience can understand, because some practitioners, when they are in dhyana, they can, how can I say, they can change. So all the existence thing become a image in meditation states. Okay, so they can enlarge things or change the mountain or remove the mountain in the meditation state. So this improve that's the evidence that our mind can change this world in the meditation states. So they really believe the teaching consciousness only. So nothing is external, which is real. It's just the projection or manifestation of our consciousness. Okay. So any Dharma friends have a question? Faye?
Nobody have questions? Everybody in the middle of a confusion, right? Cannot come up with a good question.
I don't have a good question. I have a stupid question.
Oh no, don't say stupid one.
Well, I don't know what it's called because what I think is that with each Dharma teaching is that some things are connected and some things aren't, just like each sutra is very different from the other. I mean, if I was going to try to understand each thing individually, then what I would say about Yogacara with consciousness only, that is very different from the other teachings. I mean, we've seen it on the columns and diagrams and so forth. I just don't. My problem is that if they're independent, but you can find connections in them, as it also says in the columns. I can't explain it any other way. You know, contrast and comparison. That's all. I don't know if I'm going in.
So you can't understand the comparison table. You just, is that why you were saying?
Well, because some things.
Yeah, it's quite different. I know the description is different. Yeah, but why the same color, the same layer? I think, right?
Yeah, well, because some of the things that you would think that would be harder to explain are explicit, whereas other things that are easier to explain are harder to explain in them. But that's what I noticed. But anyway.
Yeah, you just bear in mind what this term corresponds to, which term, and we use the easier way to understand this difficult the difficult thing, okay? So
Yeah.
when we have different teachings, but they are, some of them are related. So when we are difficult in this way and we can find a parallel, so we learn this way so that we can understand this difficult.
Yeah, what I'm saying is like with consciousness only versus the other stuff, that doesn't mean that that other information doesn't have some element of conscious only. I mean, that's all I can say.
Okay. So you have doubts whether consciousness is the soul. Is that what you were saying?
Well, I mean, I'm not saying, I mean, if that was what I was saying, I'm going to now ask you what the answer. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay, just like the Chan master, just smile and I understand. Okay. Okay. So Tom has question. You raise your hands, right?
Yeah, what it seems to me is these are different systems
Yeah.
defining their terms differently, and
Yeah.
depending on in which system you are studying or reading, you just have to make sure that you understand the term as that particular school
Yeah.
defines it. It doesn't really make sense to try and equalize among the systems. They're in some respects irreconcilable. It sounds like, as you mentioned, the Yogacara school
Yeah.
may simply have been mistaken or overreached in their attempts to explain or define terms, and it's almost impossible to make sense of if you approach it analytically. That's the impression I got. So just to have a scorecard almost of the terms you'll encounter and how that particular school of thought defines it, so it makes sense ultimately.
Yeah. So you just share with us your understanding of the talk, right?
Right. That's just to make sure I understood it broadly speaking.
Yeah.
If you looked at the graph, the columns and the rows,
Yeah.
I didn't find it particularly instructive or helpful to try and make sense among the three on the same terms, just to understand that these systems are defining terms in their own way, and if you stay in that context, then it makes sense.
Yeah. So my point is to bring you to the awareness of different school has different meaning in the same term. Okay.
Right.
So,
And tailored to different levels of
yeah.
competence in the student.
Yeah. So as long as we can understand the term according to the context correctly, so every teaching can be a medicine for us.
Right.
To improve our practice and reduce our defilement. Yeah. Thank you for your sharing. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. So, any question? Nicole, you mentioned you have another question. It looks like no other question at the
Oh,
moment.
I'm sorry, Venerable. I just had a question about two terms I didn't understand.
Yeah.
You said Pidgala, that we change,
Yeah.
but the aggregate seeds are fixed. Are you talking about the aggregate? I mean, I didn't understand that. What does
Pudgala. Oh, Pudgala means person. Okay.
me?
Yeah,
I'm the
person.
person. Okay.
Purgala means human or person, right?
Okay.
So a person consists of 5 aggregates, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the relation between Purgala and 5 aggregates. So Purgala is sort of a dependent designation
Mhm.
according to Yogacarar's teaching, and 5 aggregates are the real element.
And you said
So
that those are fixed?
no, not fixed.
No.
Real means they have a stable characteristic. So form always form, right? Solid and occupy space,
Mhm.
and feeling and perception, such etc. So so real means stable characteristic.
Okay, so that's what you meant by
Person
stable
cannot
characteristics.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that the form is okay. All right.
yeah. Good,
Okay.
good. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for your question. Yeah, very good. It's 9:30. Any other question? The talk tomorrow will be about the contemplation
Good.
of, of this world. How can I say the inside meditation of your consciousness on this school. Okay, so how can we realize this world is the projection of consciousness? Okay. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Night,
Bye.
everybody.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Sleep well. Prepare
You
for
too.
tomorrow's lecture.